thing before we jump into today's video, and this is actually going to be a quick one, we talked about how Sledgehammer has been doing a fantastic job. Both Sledgehammer's official account on Reddit and Condry himself over on Reddit have been doing a fantastic job of keeping everybody up to date. Well, that number keeps continuing for a consistent number of days, and posts keeps rising. We ended up actually getting another one talking about shotguns within World War II and Expeditionary Force, to which just a little mention of this. The combat shotgun is going to be getting a slight nerf, bringing it down to essentially a middle ground on where it was at launch compared to where it is now. And then we're also going to be getting some buffs to things like the M21 sawed-off shotgun for that to be a little bit stronger, potentially buffing the range or the reload time. They haven't decided which one just yet. But that said, I'll leave the links down there in the description below if you guys want to check out any of those for yourselves, but let's just jump right into the regular content now with that. I'll be totally honest with you, I am actually very intrigued with how the content's going to roll out within World War II. We've seen a lot of different strategies and a lot of progression in how we get content, and just on top of that, how much we get in just the past 3 years or so since the last Sledgehammer title. Things have really changed in the grand scheme of things, and so with how everything is rolling out now, I'm just genuinely curious on thinking about how this could work out for the rest of the year. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is pure speculation, bear this in mind, but I want to talk to you guys about the schedule of events in World War II with DLC, headquarters changes, featured modes, those sorts of events like the Winter Siege event, how many we'll be seeing, what it will bring, and what kind of cool stuff we can get out of it entirely. So once again, just prefacing this, it's all theory and speculation and just some thoughts I had that I wanted to share with you guys, get my thoughts out there, get your feedback on it, and maybe we can try and decipher this code together. But first things first, I think that the biggest thing here out of this, and as much as it might pain me to say this and you guys might not want to hear it, DLC weapons are a focus and a key, because the amount of events may be directly tied into how many DLC weapon drops we get, because like it or not, that's a huge selling point for updates and events. We saw it within Modern Warfare Remastered, and we already saw it within COD World War II, and we will see it more. So understanding just how much DLC we may get could be the way to crack this code open, or just understanding how many we get throughout the year. So my best guess for this would be a great example towards Black Ops 3 setting the precedent for how many amounts of drops we ended up getting in one content year. To my recollection, it is something that they still have the amounts locked down for most in one content season. Infinite Warfare gave us a lot of cool stuff, but I don't think that it set the number this high. Black Ops 3 set the number of DLC content drops in 1 year of being 8. Now granted, we ended up getting stuff in year 2 of Black Ops 3, but for the immediate content season, it was 8 total drops for DLC weapons in Black Ops 3's Black Market updates. So theoretically, that could fit out perfectly as being 4 seasonal events and 4 DLC events in my mind. So that said, we can set the precedent for what we can see as comparable values of updates on December 14th of 2015, February 9th of 2016, March 22nd, May 6th, June 14th, July 28th, September 13th, and finally of October 17th. So sure, like again, we ended up getting new weapons and everything into the second year, but for theory's sake, I want to keep it within that year 1 comparison, because we don't know if World War II is going to be supported in that second year after Treyarch releases their title later this year. So far, World War II has already launched 1 event with new DLC, and 1 is coming on the way, with the dates of December 8th being the start of the Winter Siege event, in which we ended up getting the Gewehr 43, the GPMG, the Sten, the Ice Pick, and the Trench Knife, and later on in this month of January, we'll be getting the Resistance event, which admittedly we don't know much about other than it's just going to happen. We can assume that the VOLKSTRUMGEWEHR and a few other weapons will be coming, since the VOLKSTRUMGEWEHR was actually featured on the promotional art for the Resistance DLC pack. So that may be a safe assumption for what we can get, but as for a start date, your guess is as good as mine. Mine would probably be saying maybe we stick to that Friday release like Winter Siege had, in which that would bring us probably to January 26th, or potentially it releases when the DLC does for PlayStation 4 on the 30th, or maybe it's completely wrong in some other date that we end up getting randomly. And it's all speculation, but the greater point that I want to try and get across here is that the dates match up with the marketing of, once again, that most that we've seen previously in Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3's first weapon DLC drop was December 14th, with World War II's first event being on December 8th. Black Ops 3's second weapon DLC drop was February 9th, with World War II's second event being scheduled for later this month, with the DLC releasing on the 30th. So the general pattern is already in that we're in line with Black Ops 3's marketing and release schedule, with a margin of error being plus or minus around a week to 10 days. With, of course, right now, both of the examples we gave that are already in our immediate view being on the minus end, but the pattern may be forming already, to which we can track the dates down to a relative location. So my initial theory was that we'd be getting some events celebrating seasonal events nearly identical to that of Modern Warfare Remastered. It always just seemed like a brilliant idea the way that they wanted to implement things here, especially with Winter Siege kicking things off, and then with the announcement of the Resistance DLC events, that's something that kind of kickstarted that, well, maybe there's another 4 coming on top of that. But that said, we ended up getting things like St. Patrick's Days, Shamrock and Awe, the Days of Summer, and though it wasn't its own specific event, Christmas Crash. So there's 3 right off the bat, and I really do think that we could end up getting something, say like a fall extravaganza or a fall seasonal event to end off the content season for World War II. But that said, the timing falls nearly identical with those extensions. If we follow anything in World War II similar to how Modern Warfare Remastered did these specific events, Shamrock and Awe started on March 14th with a comparable timetable to Black Ops 3's third weapon DLC of March 22nd. Once again, in that margin of error of minus 10 days, so perhaps a similar release for that. Days of Summer started on June 27th, and that was kind of an outlier because the 5th DLC drop for Black Ops 3 was June 14th, so a little bit of a skew in the theory there, but still a relative time frame. And while once again, we don't have anything laid out for a fall event, it would fall in line with what potentially could be an October 17th relative time frame for what Black Ops 3 did. So to me, I feel like the timing falls almost perfectly to a model we've already seen. Something in which we end up getting 4 seasonal events and then 4 events for DLC, because obviously we have 4 DLC packs every single year, with the exception of once again Black Ops 3 throwing in that extra add-on of Zombies Chronicles. And while right now we don't have all that much to base on with what we'll see for, say, contents in it, Winter Siege may have been that ideal situation that we can already pull from, in which we see specific collections for DLC weapons, we see featured modes, we see featured playlists, all that kind of stuff may be returning. And talking about that, I want to touch on what we may very well see, because there's a bunch of game modes that we've yet to really see within World War II that are not only in the game code, but some of them are already complete. But that said, those modes include Gun Game, which we saw with Winter Siege, Infected, Aces, Air, Demolition, Lockdown, Blades, and Control, with a lot of different cool things intermittently here throughout, and of course Infected being one that a lot of you guys know. It's already been also touched on by Sledgehammer, saying they all love it, so it's acknowledged, and by that regard, I can almost guarantee you it's going to be coming, maybe within the Resistance event, but if not, some point in time later on in the year. And how these could end up working are, once again, maybe 1 per event, and while it would kind of suck to only see a mode come around once every year because we have to cycle through this or something, it makes sense to be able to hype that up and get everybody to play it for that 3-4 weeks or whatever the event may last during World War II. But of course, I'd still love to see maybe towards the end a compilation of all of these coming back as a weekly playlist, but for this specific theory and discussion, it's something that may just be featured within the events in World War II, however. Now, do I expect all of these modes to be coming? Well, again, it kind of matches up in which we have the 8 different modes in which we just listed off, and what I think may be very well 8 events throughout the year. I don't know if we'll see all of these. I think we might see some sort of rotation of a few. Some of these probably may have been cut modes. Some don't even make sense because they're way too similar to what we've already seen, but for what it's worth, those are the ones on the table. Now, also content-wise, like we've kind of started off even with this, that DLC weapons are going to be the heavy hitter for what may even dictate when these happen. And that said, we still have a ton of DLC weapons that were leaked from way back from the beta game code files, in which we ended up seeing before launch even some weapons that may be coming during the DLC. And we've already seen 5 of them once again, so this list is credible. It is going to happen at some point, it's just a matter of when. So included in that were the Gewehr 43, which we already saw, the Type 5, the VOLKSTRUMGEWEHR, which may very well be coming once again with the Resistance DLC, the Beretta 38, the Sten, the Beretta 30, which was the GPMG, the M1919, the MG81, the Arasaka, the Winchester 94 lever action, the Enfield No. 2, the Walther P38, the Reichs revolver, the Ice Pick, the combat knife, and the trench knife. Those weapons are once again, some that we've already seen and some that are still coming. So all these are going to be dropped at some point, it's just a matter of when, and I think that it might very well line up with what we've seen for the release schedule with Black Ops 3 and these potential 8 events coming within World War II. So evidence aside and wrapping everything up, I think that we'll be seeing stuff very relatively compared to what we saw with Black Ops 3's release schedule, and a total of 8 events with DLC content thrown in with the mix there, and also featured modes and playlists like we've already seen with Gun Game. So we already saw one in December, we'll see one at the end of the month, maybe one around March and St. Patrick's Day, one potentially coming in for a DLC 2, a summer event, a DLC 3, a DLC 4, and a fall event. Those could once again be matching up to the point of December. January or February, March, May, June, July, September, and October, in which we end up getting some content. So it's all theory and speculation right now, and that's where I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Do you think this makes sense the way that this marketing schedule may end up happening, or do you think that it's all completely crazy and I'm off my rocker here a little bit? Love to get your thoughts and feedback here down there in the comment section down below. Once again, I was just thinking about how this year could work out, and then I just started to fall down the rabbit hole of comparing time frames and trying to figure out exactly when we could see things happening. So I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Do you guys find this interesting? Do you think it will be happening as such? Do you think it's a complete waste of my time to try and figure this stuff out? Whatever it may be, let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding Call of Duty World War II. We'll be keeping you guys up to date with anything you need to know about best class setups, tips, tricks, news, information, deciphering stuff like this even. If any of it interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And of course, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But other than that, Natalie, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.